Dear learners, today I will continue the class on right and duties. This is the video part 2 and unit rights and duties. Dear learners, after going through this class, you will be able to explain the Gandhian view on rights and duties, discuss the concept of casuistry in case of conflict of duties. Dear learners, let us now proceed for the second part of the class, that is video 2. Dear learners, this unit deals with the concept of rights and duties. It already discussed the related issues such as meaning and definition of rights and duties, kinds of rights and duties, and the remaining issues such as Gandhian view on rights and duties and casuistry in case of conflict of duties to be discussed in this second part of the video. This unit attempts to discuss all the related issues from philosophical angle and also equally emphasizes on understanding the issues in a very comprehensive way. Now, dear learners, we'll be concentrating on Gandhi's views on rights and duties. So you see, Gandhi's views in respect of rights and duties may be summarized as follows in his words. Man's highest duty in life is to serve mankind and take his share in welfare of all. This is true worship, true prayer. Gandhi views that rights and duties are connected in a sense that they are the two sides of the same coin. It shows that rights and duties are interconnected. Gandhi used the term right in social, political, and ethical senses. He used the term right in ethico-religious sense to mean freedom of action, which is conducive to moksha or liberation. Gandhi once significantly quoted, "People who obtain rights as a result of performance of duty exercises them only for the service of society, never for themselves." This shows the link of rights and duties in case of achieving the highest ideal, that is common welfare, by overlooking individual welfare. Again, Gandhi used the term rights in political field during freedom movement. He understood the term rights through politics when he was in South Africa, and this understanding transformed the shy and timid Gandhi to a heroic champion of human rights. Gandhi distinguished between personal and public duties. Through personal duty, he means the obligation of duties which we perform individually. Gandhi held the view that unless duties were performed by a preacher in his own personal life, his preaching or counseling to others will be useless. That is why Gandhi put importance on the purity of personal life. He also emphasizes on the role of private habits in the formation of characters. Apart from this, Gandhi also put importance on the control of our senses in order to be free from sensual pleasure which blocks the road to self-realization. By the public duties, he means the duties towards others for the welfare of all. He considered the service to humanity as a true worship, true prayer, and the highest duty in an individual's life. He regards the public duties as a true worship and a prayer to God. And service to humanity or duty to others can be opined as the outward manifestation of personal duty of an individual for common welfare. As for instance, Gandhian concept of Swaraj reflects these outward manifestation of duties of an individual not only for personal self-rule but also for self-rule in public or social contexts. Selfless action or principle of renunciation is the motto behind service to others. Gandhi held the view that it helps a man to realize truth or God. He also viewed that realization of truth or God is the very purpose of a human life. This indicates a harmonious relationship between our individual and social life. Gandhi's concept of Ramarajya is a base example of this relationship. Hence, it can be viewed that the concept of rights can be established only when we have to perform our duties towards others. Regarding the relationship between rights and duties, Gandhi pointed out a harmonious relationship between the two. According to him, both are mutually dependent on each other. We cannot discuss one without the other. As a result, he thought that this relationship should be maintained by employers and employees, the landlords and tenants, the princes and their subjects, husband and wife, parents and children, the Hindus and the Muslims in their everyday life. According to Gandhi, rights can be derived from the performance of duties. Without performance of duties, the thinking or enjoyment of rights is immoral. Gandhi's view is that all rights flowed from the duties performed accordingly. One has to earn the rights by the performance of duties, but they are not mutually inclusive and vice versa. There are no divine rights or birthrights. As for instance, parents, teachers, husbands, employers, etc. can claim of obedience when they perform their respective duties towards children, students, wife, and employees respectively. Gandhi held the view that the true spirit of rights is involved in case of performance of duties. If we claim of rights without performing corresponding duties, it will be a meaningful exercise. It will be a meaningless exercise in respects of the relationship of rights and duties. Gandhi's view is that the performance of duties gives birth to right. The concept of rights cannot be derived from the external agency like society, state, heredity, divinity, etc. Rather, it is earned by the people through the performance of corresponding duties. Thus, the thought of enjoying rights without the performance of duties is an unjust affair. On the other hand, rights are recognized by society so that individuals can enjoy the rights smoothly while performing their duties. Some of the critics view that Gandhi's emphasis on the importance of duties rather than rights undermines the concept of rights in social life. Buddhadeva Bhattacharya in this context comments that Gandhi's emphasis on duties as being prior to rights may lend the impression that his outlook was conservative. The conservative view holds that duty is of greater importance and priority than right. The conflicting views or critical points regarding rights and duties emerge when we think that rights and duties are two separate entities. Like the end means concept, his right-duty concept is also continuous, ever-changing, and dynamic in nature. Gandhi once used the two terms as synonymous or identical in this context. Gandhi said, rights accrue automatically to him who duly performs his duties. In fact, the right to perform one's duties is the only right that is worth living for and dying for. It covers all legitimate rights. This saying implies that the priority that he attached to duties is also equally applicable to rights in a sense that they are the two sides of the same entity. Right duly concept like truth and God. Therefore, the criticism of her emphasis on duties, of her rights, in the context of Gandhi is not accepted. F. H. Bradley, in his book Ethical Studies, describes the concept of right and duty in a significant way. He says, what is duty? It is simply the other side of the right. No right without duty. No duty without rights and rights. As a humanist, Gandhi fought both in India and South Africa for the establishment of civil, political, moral and economic rights of downtrodden, and also for the restoration of justice, peace, equality, etc. In this context, he raised his voice for the denial of human rights or the suppressed class. Therefore, the criticism of the undue importance of duties than the rights by the critics against Gandhi's views on the derivation of rights from the duties cannot be accepted. There are some duties which seem to conflict with one another. As for instance, respect for life may conflict with truth. If a doctor tells his patient the nature of his incurable disease, then the probability of the patient's life is decreased. Again, respect for life may come into conflict with respect for property. For instance, if we have to respect life, we should take away the life of a person who is about to commit murder. These examples are nothing but the kinds of conflict of duties. In order to sort out the difficulties involved in case of conflict of duties, we may take help of casuistry. It helps to formulate rules for breaking moral laws under particular circumstances. Therefore, it is a branch of ethics which is concerned with cases of conscience. According to G. E. Moore, casuistry is the goal of ethical investigation. H. Rasdal also supported the view of G. E. Moore, but Bradley did not accept this view. He asserted that ethics is not an art and so cannot solve the conflict of duties. Therefore, casuistry is not reasonable or sound. There is no conflict of duties, indeed, in the sense that we perform one particular duty under particular circumstances. Conflict of duties involve due to our failure to grasp the real situation. For instance, it is a definite duty for us to take away the life of a person who plans to commit a murder. Green, in this context, significantly points out that there is no conflict of duties indeed. An individual has only one definite duty in a definite situation. He can know it with a clear moral insight. If he overlooks the possibilities of prejudices and passions of the moment, the conflict of duties involves due to the reasons of lack of clear moral insight, warping of moral judgments by passions and narrow self-interest, confuse of issues, and want of discrimination of the essential from the inessential factors in the moral situation. In this context, critics view that we may take help of casuistry to solve the difficulties that emerge in case of a conflict of duties. But this cannot be accepted totally, in the sense that we cannot think of using alternative rules for breaking moral rules under particular circumstances. Now, dear learners, you have to test yourself. There are some questions given to you. You ask yourselves and you also try to answer these questions. The first one, according to Gandhi, what are the difference between personal and public duties? Question number 2, what do you mean by conflict of duties? Question number 3, what do you mean by casuistry? Now, dear learners, there are some highlighting points in this unit, rights and duties, and also in the video part 2. Gandhi's view is that it is not only the case that we cannot avail rights without performing duties, but also it is a meaningless exercise to think of duties without rights. It shows that rights and duties are interconnected. Gandhi used the term right in social, political, and ethical senses. He used the term right in ethico-religious sense to mean freedom of actions, which is conducive to moksha and liberation. Gandhi distinguished between personal and public duties. Through personal duty, he means the obligations of duties which we perform individually. By the public duties, he means the duties to others for the welfare of all. He considered the service to humanity as a true worship, true prayer, and the highest duty in an individual's life. He regards the public duties as a true worship and a prayer to God. Regarding the relationship between rights and duties, Gandhi pointed out a harmonious relationship between the two. According to him, both are mutually dependent on each other. We cannot discuss one without the other. As a result, he thought that this relationship should be maintained by employers and employees, the landlords and tenants, the princes and their subjects, husband and wife, parents and children, the Hindus and the Muslims in their everyday life. The critical points regarding rights and duties emerge when we think that rights and duties are two separate entities, like the end means concept. Gandhi once used the two terms as synonymous or identical. F. H. Bradley, in his book Ethical Studies, described the concept of right and duty in a significant way. He says, what is duty? It is simply the other side of the right. No right without duty, no duty without rights, and rights. The concept of casuistry helps to formulate rules for breaking moral laws under particular circumstances. Therefore, it is a branch of ethics which is concerned with cases of conscience. According to G. E. Moore, casuistry is the good of ethical investigation. H. Rasdal also supported the view of G. E. Moore. But Bradley did not accept this view. He asserted that ethics is not an art and so cannot solve the conflict of duties. Therefore, casuistry is not reasonable or sound. But Bradley did not accept this view. He asserted that ethics is not an art and so cannot solve the conflict of duty. Therefore, casuistry is not a reasonable or sound. Learners, now we are coming to the end of this class, and in order to know more about this unit, rights and duties, part 1 and part 2 of the video, you have to read some books, important books. That is the book written by Jesina, A Manual of Ethics, then Jepal, The Moral Philosophy of Gandhi, and S.N. Nal's book, Guide to Ethics, is to be very much important. Thank you, dear learners.